Mr. LaBouffe, I'd like to remind you that you've already been sworn in. Will you please introduce yourself to the jury?
Well, my name is Sean LaBouffe, but most of y'all might know me as the Raging Cajun for my family names.
Did you know Mr. Bobby Bacalaureate?
Yes, Bobby was my closest friend, the only person I trusted.
How long have you known Mr. Bacalaureate?
Oh, for years and years. Our relationship went back to my boxing career. He used to come out to some of my fights, and our friendship grew when he offered me a job as his bodyguard.
Now, why did you stop boxing, Mr. LaBouffe?
Well, my career hit a low point when I was forced to take a fall on our management, and when I resorted to the use of performance-enhancing drugs to try and solve some of my problems in the ring.
Now, you said you used performance-enhancing drugs. Did you experience any legal consequences for the use of these drugs?
Yes, I took responsibility for my actions, and I pled guilty to one felony count of possession of a controlled substance. That substance being the steroid fluorotestosterone.
And did you complete your probation?
I did. I completed my probation in 2012 with no issues, and I haven't been in any trouble since.
Now, returning to your relationship with Mr. Bacalaureate, were you any close?
Oh, yes. Bobby and I were very close friends. He was the only person I trusted, as I said. He shared with me the minor details of the business and really confided in me a great deal of things.
Will you instruct the jury about the details of Mr. Bacalaureu's business?
Well, Bobby was in the loan business, and he often gave loans to people who might not have qualified for loans in other avenues, such as banks or trusts or things like that. He did, however, require a little bit of interest back upon repayment.
Now, prior to January 26, 2013, what were your duties in this business?
Well, as I said, I acted as Bobby's bodyguard, which mainly entailed meeting with Bobby when he went to going with Bobby to meet with clients, and sometimes providing a bit of motivation for those clients.
Did Mr. Bacalaureate usually carry a weapon to these meetings?
Yes, and Bobby liked to appear very threatening, and he felt that a firearm was the best way to go about that. He didn't know much about guns, though, so I usually handled maintenance and kept it loaded.
Did you usually accompany Mr. Bacalaureate to meetings with his clients?
Almost always. When Bobby went, Bobby gave loans to a great deal of people, and I wanted to make sure that when he went to meet with people, like the defendant, that he was protected.
Were you with Mr. Bacalaureate the night of January 26, 2015?
No, that's something I'll always regret. When Bobby went to meet with the defendant, Samantha Pike, I wasn't there for him, and he was murdered. And that's something I'll always regret.
Where were you?
I was at the 7:30 show of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake.
Did you receive a ticket stub for this movie?
I did.
What did you do with it?
I handed it over to the police when I...
Now, did the defendant owe Mr. Bacalaureate money?
She did.
And to your knowledge, did Mr. Bacalaureate extend the loans?
As much as he could. Bobby tried to be generous.
Now, after Mr. Bacalaureate was murdered, was the money ever paid back?
No. After Bobby's death, the defendant never had to pay back the money.
And did you feel as though you should have been with Mr. Bacalaureate to accompany him with his meeting on January 26th?
I still do to this day.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Your Honor?
Yes.
Mr. LaBouffe, Bobby Bacalaureate is back in your boxing days, isn't that correct?
I did. Bobby liked to come out to the fights and,
Yes, and you were once WBO champion, correct?
Oh, yes. As I said, they called him the Raging Cajun.
Yes, and you met Black Armor, I'd like to remind everyone of that.
Yes, it's a nickname I'm very proud of.
Yes. And you were once a client of Mr. Bacalaureate's.
At one point, yes, Bobby did give me a loan, but I paid that over, 100 times over by now.
Yes, and like you mentioned on the direct, he also paid for steroids.
Yes, he did. He did give me a loan, but he also gave me a job, which helped me get away from that lifestyle.
Yes, and you thought performance-enhancing drugs could solve your problems in the end, didn't you?
Yes, that was a terrible mistake, and as I said, I owned up to it and pled guilty.
Yeah. Your main job with Bobby was to intimidate his clients.
Well, my main job with Bobby was to keep him protected when he went to meet with people like the defendant. I wanted to make sure he was safe. My secondary position would really be, motivating clients and making sure they decide to pay up.
Yes, and this intimidation sometimes led to physical, but you describe yourself as physical motivation.
Yes, when necessary.
But your main job, Mr. Backley, was to let his clients know the consequences of not following through, wasn't it?
No, my main job was to protect Bobby from people like the defendant.
Yes, and you would go, Mr. Backley, to his client meetings.
Almost always.
And while you were there, you would usually wait by the elevator shaft and smoke cigarettes to pass the time.
Yes, it's a nasty habit, but it's one I have.
That's a yes, you would wait by the elevator shaft to do it.
Yes.
And you would usually carry a Glock to these meetings, correct?
Yes, I wanted to, stay safe.
Now let me direct your attention to the meeting of January 26th. Mr. Backley didn't meet at all.
Yes, I'd spent part of the day with Bobby, and he decided to give me the day off. And he also paid a bit of my salary.
Yes, and this was because prior to that evening, Mr. Backley had to get a little rough because of Adrian.
Yes, and that's something I felt bad about, and Bobby knew that. But he wanted to keep our friendship strong, so he gave me the day off and paid me some of my salary.
Yes, your cousin borrowed money for his children's medical bills.
Yes, and as I said, I felt bad about that, but business is business.
And his inability to make these payments was why Bobby had to get a little rough when it wasn't.
That's right.
Now, you mentioned on direct that you were at the movies on the evening of January 26th, weren't you?
Yes, I was.
Yes, and you heard Lieutenant Kane testify a little earlier.
I did.
You said you didn't give him any sort of ticket stuff, didn't you?
Well, I don't know. That must be some sort of blank in his memory because I made sure to hand it over when I was asked.
So that's a yes. You didn't hear him say anything about it, did you?
I fail to remember that, but I believe he did say something.
And now that Mr. Backley is gone, many of his clients still have unsettled accounts, don't they?
That's right. People like the defendant never had to pay up because of Bobby's death.
Yes, and you don't think it's right for some defendants to get to profit off of Bobby's death, do you?
No, I don't want people like Samantha Pike to profit from my friend's death.
But, Mr. LeBooth, you plan to profit off of Mr. Backley's death, don't you?
No, I don't.
You'd say it's your obligation to continue his line of work, wouldn't
That's
you?
right. That's what Bobby would want. Now, Bobby had a family, a mother and a sister who's here in Portland today. And he would want them taken care of. And that's exactly what I plan to do.
Yes, and you think you can make some real money in this line of work, don't you?
I think it could be the start of something big, but only the continuation of Bobby's work.
That's a yes, you can need profits from this.
Profits for Bobby's organization.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Anything else?
Yes, Your Honor. Now, opposing counsel just talked to you about your knowledge of Mr. Bacaleri's interactions with clients. Did the defendant owe Mr. Bacaleri money?
Yes, a great deal of money. She never seemed to be able to pay it back. After Bobby's death, she never had to.
Well, have you ever accompanied a meeting with Mr. Bacaleri and the defendant?
Yes, I met with, I went to the meeting between Bobby and the defendant.
At these meetings, have you ever heard the defendant threaten Mr. Bacaleri?
Yes, in one particular
Objection, Your Honor. This line of questioning goes out of the scope of my cross and directly to be limited to the scope of the cross.
Is it within the scope of the cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor. Opposing counsel asked about deaths and interactions between Mr. Bacaleri and his clients.
Your Honor, I'm going to respond that I did not bring up Samantha Pike at all, or he stands for that at this point.
I'm going to sustain, I'm sorry, I'm going to overrule the objection. I think that it was to some degree within the scope of the cross-examination. I'll let you go into it.
Yes, Your Honor.
Give me one.
Well, as I was saying, on one particular instance, the defendant said that if Bobby didn't bring his goons, by which he was referring to myself and Bobby's other bodyguards, next time, that she would take care of Bobby all by herself. And that's a promise I think she kept.
And what did you take the defendant's statement to mean?
That the defendant was desperate. Either pay off the debt or get rid of her property permanently.
Thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.
Step down.